the reality of the situation is we are dealing more with secular humanists, secularism, than anything else. So Roman Catholicism has a big stronghold here, for sure. No doubt about it. Everyone's Catholic, even though they don't care or practice. But in reality, in the everyday life, you're dealing with people who have been indoctrinated by the state through a godless worldview system, taught that they're monkeys and all the rest. You're dealing with secular humanists who think they can know stuff rightly without knowing God. But a few things from Florida, the McGregor Baptist Global Impact Celebration. There was a few things that I just wanted to share that I thought were particularly interesting, right? So I shared some of the pictures. I talked about the big idea, what it is, why we do it, and how it was encouraging, how it was good. But a few things that stuck out to me that are worth mentioning that I thought was great. Number one, it's a great idea, I think, and I didn't even put this on the list, but I'm putting it on my list now. Number one, I'm going to add this on here. It's a great idea to do something what this church does. Now, not every church is large like this in scope and in numbers and so on and resources, able to do something like that. But the idea of like a missions Sunday once a year or so, or even twice a year, I think is a great idea. Not every church does that. But it is something if you or your church is not doing, it's worth praying about, thinking about. There's something about that where everybody pulls back for a Sunday and looks at the bigger picture of what God is doing in the world, considers the missionaries they are supporting, or maybe that they're not supporting any missionaries yet, and prays about who should the church support and what kinds of ministries and so on. The idea, though, of it's good to get off of our immediate context where we're serving, and remember, God is at work around the world doing stuff, and the church together works together to see the gospel advance and so on, and lives transformed. Now, so number one, I would say is that's something to consider. What they did here at McGregor Baptist Church is a large-scale kind of event, a global impact celebration. They bring folks from, I think there are 40 different ministries represented, coming from all over the world, basically, to represent and share and update and just spend time together. And then everybody gathers supplies. The church has a little shopping mart thing where throughout the year they're gathering supplies, and then folks who have needs of different supplies can gather them freely and load up stuff to take back to the mission field with them to help their ministry and so on. For example, I now have a teleprompter that we use for the media ministry. The life group that hosted me generously asked if we had any needs in particular. I said, well, I was hoping to get one of these things while they're in the States because they're much cheaper. And they said, we'll take care of it. So they actually got that for us. We need just some basic cold and flu type medicine for the kids during the winter when we get sick. It's just cheaper, better stuff from the States. And they bought us a ton of stuff like that, so we don't have to think about it. We just are able to bring it back, and we're fully stocked for a while, more than we need, actually, which is a great problem to have. So stuff like that, great benefits too, where there's this time, though, where annually people are focused and thinking about this task, the Great Commission. Number one thing I would say, a highlight from the trip was just seeing that possibility, that this is something churches should be doing. It's a good thing. It's a God-honoring thing. And it's helpful to get our eyes off ourselves once in a while and look at what God is doing in other places. All right, so that was great. It was a great time of celebration and fellowship is the second highlight. I can't stress that enough. It's really cool to once in a while, especially if you're working in the trenches, to be able to pull out and get together and just reminisce and talk. I'm sure soldiers, if you've been involved in the front lines doing stuff, there's something special about getting together, roasting something on the fire, hot dogs, whatever, hanging out and just chatting and sharing, and it builds each other up. So for the missionaries to get together is encouraging, but to spend time with different people who has also come to serve with us, like I'm thinking of Bert and Dominga, to be able to go to their house then for dinner one night and just reminisce about different things and show photos of the kids, and it's encouraging. It's a wonderful thing, this idea to celebrate and have that kind of intentional fellowship around this idea of God's work throughout the world, the Great Commission. Encouraging. Another thing I wanted to highlight and mention. Another thing that really touched my heart was two kids, friends of ours that we met there in Florida last year. Wonderful folks. We really connect well with this family. Our son wrote his story, if you remember from previous podcasts, I mentioned it, the Adventures of Nimble Joe, which you can get. Maybe there's a link in the show notes to this episode, for example. You can get the digital copy, and we're working on getting another round or batch of the hard book copy, making a few upgrades to that version and making it maybe available for people to buy if they want. But a short story that Cornelius wrote, and anyway, he gave a signed copy to his friend here in McGregor, and he got it. And the next day, I was just totally shocked. Him and his sister, they came up to the table where we're at, and all of a sudden, they hand me an envelope, and it's kind of a thick wad envelope. And I'm like, wow, that's really nice. Okay, I don't get these kind of things. People don't give me envelopes all the time, so that was very nice. And then later on that night, late in the night, because I was out a lot all day, and then with Tim, I look at it, and I was like, whoa, there's a big chunk of cash inside there, and I just couldn't believe it. I was just overwhelmed and excited. But apparently what has happened, and I wanted to share this because I think it's a beautiful example. These are kids being homeschooled. Their parents love the Lord and are teaching them from a Christian worldview, and also equipping them to think like Christians in this world and to be productive citizens in the kingdom of God and so on. And here, what they did was they made, I didn't get to see the ornaments, but they made like Christmas ornaments, custom made. These kids were making these and then selling them to different people of the church or the community, and with the scope of using those funds that they got from selling these things they made to contribute to the missions abroad somewhere. And in this case, they contributed to us and to the ministry here, which helps our family and our kids and the mission efforts that we're doing. Huge, huge blessing to us. And these are young children, 9, I think, and 11 years old, able to already begin thinking like this. There's things you can do. There's ways you can go through life to help contribute to the work of the Lord in other places. You can't always go, like in their case, maybe they're too young to go on a trip like that, but you can do things that please the Lord, that contribute to his work in other places, even from a young age. They're learning this. And to me, that was just mind-blowing. If all of us would do stuff like that with our kids and train them in that way, what an impact we would be having as the body of Christ around the world. Super amazing. Just needed to mention that. That really touched my heart. Another thing, last thing that I wanted to mention, a highlight from the trip in Florida, is this idea of secular humanism. So in one of my chances to share and to talk, aware that the kind of missions work we do is not typical in the average person's mind still today. They're mostly thinking of poverty places or jungles and tribes and things like this, not sophisticated civilizations like here in Europe or in Italy in particular. And so I got to point out that, number one, they're all Roman Catholic and they're not hearing the actual gospel. Number two, they don't really practice the religion. Nobody does here in Italy, right? So it's like a dead religion. And thirdly, the reality of the situation is we are dealing more with secular humanists, secularism, than anything else. So Roman Catholicism has a big stronghold here, for sure. No doubt about it. Everyone's Catholic, even though they don't care or practice. But in reality, in the everyday life, you're dealing with people who have been indoctrinated by the state through a godless worldview system, taught that they're monkeys and all the rest. You're dealing with secular humanists who think they can know stuff rightly without knowing God, that we don't even need God to understand who we are, what we are, where we came from, what we're doing in this world, and what has value and all the rest. So when I mention these ideas that we deal with secular humanism and we have to lovingly challenge their worldview and point out their inconsistencies and then share the bad news and the good news, the bad news makes the good news make sense, and point them to Christ and how they can be saved, and how it's a ripe time now in the country of Italy, for example, because of all the craziness going on in the world. People are questioning and interested, and there's a category now for the gospel when it's well explained to them and you challenge their worldview where it can make sense and it actually changes everything. So mentioning these things, mentioning secular humanism, I was pleasantly surprised how that led to a number of good conversations afterwards, in between events, just in the hall there, at the table, people coming up talking, and in particular, something about that secular humanists and secularism, dealing with that and with worldviews and so on, was a ripe, good conversation. And so I was encouraged by that. But it's just the kind of thing we deal with in the modern mission field in places here like Western countries or like Italy, for example. So again, those are the few highlights I just wanted to share. Number one, great thing to do, the Mission Sunday type stuff or a missions weekend. Every church should probably do that. Great time of celebration and fellowship. That was just hugely encouraging to all the missionaries, not just to me. The two kids that were actively, number one, compliments to the parents, right? That's huge. That's awesome. That's big picture, capturing it and applying it and training kids, not just handing them off to be trained or taught somewhere else, but actively involved in their kids' lives and teaching them how to create something, teaching them how to sell something, teaching them how to contribute to the work of God around the world. Huge, huge thing. Those two kids, wonderful work they did, and the parents, and then this secular humanism and this grappling with what is biblical missions. So to me, those are some of the highlights and really nice moments. And in addition, I would say also being well hosted by Brother Tim was fantastic. I really enjoyed our conversations, just hanging out, and how he treated me so well, fed me well, and all the rest. It was just great. So that was very encouraging.